everyone, and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. I am your one host, and Jennifer is your other host. Hello. Hello, hello. Hi, Jen.
To see you tonight, Sandy. Hope everybody's doing great. We've
Yeah,
got a great show tonight. I hope I'm not lagging behind too much.
just a tiny
Is it
bit, but
okay?
we'll figure it out. Just do your
All right,
best.
maybe it'll catch up. Just do your thing. So,
Do
guys, we
your
have such
thing,
a great
baby. Do
show for
your
you
thing.
tonight. Our first article is from Grist, and it is called As Climate Risks Mount, the Insurance Safety Net is Collapsing. Wow.
Yeah.
Did you guys know natural disasters now cost the US insurance industry $100 billion a year? Wow. What happens when no one wants to pick up the tab anymore?
Well,
So be talking about that. And then we're going over to like a brand new thing. It's disasterphilanthropy.org. And it's kind of an interesting site. We'll go through that site, show you all the different topics and services and ways to get help. And we've got an update from Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg joins second climate protest in London this week. It's a good, spicy little article. Undeterred.
oh boy. I don't know why we're having internet issues. hmm. Well,
After
okay, she's back.
being charged over certain.
Jennifer, you got everything off at your house? Mm. Well, guys, I'm going to say
Everything's off.
everything's off and everything's off here too. So, all right, well, let's just wing it.
Yeah.
Continue on,
We're just going
darling.
to have to wing it and hope that we get caught up with all this
Yeah, there's
stuff. So,
something in the
and
air.
then we have a little bit of hopium from Bill McKibben, and it's an article or a blog he wrote called Energy from Heaven. It just came out, and that, Sandy, is it.
Yep. So, of course, as usual, we have a presentation, which we're going to start with. So I am going, yep,
Yay!
we're going to pull that up. And it's really nice to see you. I didn't even say hi to everybody. Zing and Scott, thank you for moderating. And Kim, can you hear me now? And everybody was telling me my volume was down. You know, the shit you have to go through for a live stream. All right, so we're gonna start with
Oh,
our
I know. You just
yeah.
never know what's going to happen.
You just never know. You just never know. So here we are. Here's the title. And guys, Jean, hi. Thank you for moderating. All right. I'm not going to be able to say hi to everybody, but it is great to see you. And we are going to start off with our presentation. And I am going to move down to our favorite.
This is like one of the
What a
greenest
piece of
periods
shit.
in recorded history. When you think like we're cutting down all the trees and there's less trees, there's less green than ever before.
Right.
No, carbon dioxide is food for plants,
Right.
and there's more plants now than there have been in the last like 20 plus years. What is when they say the greening of Earth because of climate change? Google that. Like,
Yep, that's it. I think it was it. Oh, I thought it was longer. Well, all right. So Google that. So now that he said what he said, I thought we would play a little bit of an explanation. He should watch.
Human-caused climate change is having an ever-increasing and profound effect on the Arctic. From the ocean to the air, warming trends are continuing, and air temperatures in the Arctic are rising faster than the global average. In 2022, average annual surface air temperatures were the sixth warmest since 1900, with the 10 warmest years all occurring since 2011. Sea ice is thinning, far below conditions that existed 30 years ago, and older ice remains scarce. This loss of sea ice has enabled more shipping through the Bering Strait and Beaufort Sea, bringing with it more human-made debris, increased underwater noise, and the risk of potentially catastrophic incidents such as oil spills. All of this activity has wide-reaching impacts on Arctic ecosystems. Seabirds are natural indicators of the health of marine ecosystems, and in 2022, Bering and Chukchi Sea communities reported the 6th consecutive year of seabird die-offs, most likely due to starvation, and coinciding with the loss of ice in those areas. Prior to 2015, seabird die-offs were rare in Alaskan waters and were usually wintertime events linked to disease outbreaks and above-average ocean temperatures. And both of those factors are projected to increase in coming years. Rainfall has also been increasing and likely transforming Arctic regions from snowfall to rainfall-dominated climates. In 2022, this was most apparent in eastern Greenland, Svalbard, and northern Norway, and in the central Arctic, with more consecutive wet days generally coinciding with reduced sea ice coverage in warmer months. Extreme weather, from heavy rainstorms to drought, has become more frequent, and the impacts of these events can be disastrous. At the peak of an unprecedented September heat wave over Greenland, more than 1/3 of the ice sheet's total surface was melting. A potentially large source of sea level rise is melt from the Greenland ice sheet. As warmer air and warmer water continue to melt the ice, impacts to ecosystems and communities within and far beyond the Arctic are already underway. The evidence is clear. Human-caused climate change is transforming the snowy and icy Arctic into a warmer, wetter environment. To limit these harmful consequences to the Arctic and beyond, it is essential for society to reduce greenhouse gases worldwide.
All right, well, I think that Joe Rogan can put that in his pipe and smoke it.
We need to flush him immediately.
You
I think
really
we need
wanna
to flush Joe
him
Rogan.
immediately? Immediately, huh? Okay, we're going to do a flush. All right. We flushed him. There we go.
Good.
We'll come back. We sort of did a semi-flush. So where is everybody tonight, man? It's like a slow night. Maybe everybody's boycotting me because I'm doing a different show on Wednesday nights. Do you feel betrayed, guys?
No.
I know. I am living the Michael Dowd post doom no gloom. I'm having a good time and enjoying myself. Right, Jennifer? That's
Right.
what we need all.
I'm
we
glad.
all need to do. We all need to do it. We all need to do it. So I'm going to read this, and then Jennifer's going to talk about the graph that follows. The data visualization shows the global distribution and variation of the concentration of mid-tropospheric carbon dioxide observed by the atmospheric infrared sounder, the AIRS, on the NASA Aqua spacecraft over a 20-year time span. One obvious feature that we see in the data is a continual increase in carbon dioxide with time, as seen in the shift in the color of the map from light yellow towards red as time progresses. Another feature is the seasonal variation of carbon dioxide in the northern hemisphere, which is governed by the growth cycle of plants. Okay, Joe. This can be seen as pulsing in the colors with a shift towards lighter colors starting in April and May each year, and a shift towards red at the end of each growing season passes into the winter. The seasonal cycle is more pronounced in the northern hemisphere than the southern hemisphere, since the majority of landmass is in the north. So this visualization includes a data-driven spatial map of global carbon dioxide and a timeline on the bottom. The timeline showcases the monthly time step and is paired with the adjusted carbon dioxide value. Areas where the air pressure is less than 750, I think the MB, I forgot exactly the measurement, and I don't want to say something stupid, areas of high altitude have been marked in the visualization as low data quality striped areas. This entry offers two versions of low data quality, which are the striped areas. So one version includes striped regions as they are calculated on data values, and the second version features striped regions below 60 south. And who's writing to tell me what the MB is, because usually I remember. But you know what? One brain cannot remember everything. There's a
No.
lot to remember. All right, so
Yeah.
let's play this, and then Jennifer, you could talk about it as
Yeah.
you
So
see
check out the year and
the colors.
month at the bottom. You can see now we're in 2010. Now we're in 2012. Now we're in 2013, 15, 17. And look how red it's gotten. So this is a real-time, month-by-month visualization of the carbon dioxide raising over the last 23 years or so. So pretty interesting graph. You can see how it's really gone up.
I really do like NASA. I mean, we have to say, the United States government does have some good websites on all of this. And can you see it or want me to read it?
Oh, I can read it over here. No
Okay.
problem.
Go for it.
All right. This is a quote from Carl Sagan, guys. In science, it often happens that scientists say, that's a really good argument. My position is mistaken. And then they would actually change their minds. And you never hear that old view from them again. They really do it. It doesn't happen as often as it should because scientists are human and change is sometimes painful. But it happens every day. I cannot recall the last time something like that happened in politics or religion.
No. Thank you, Carl. No, we can't. Because if you look at the clown show we're looking at in the United States right now, especially with the Republicans trying to get a Speaker of the House, it is definitely a clown show. Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
I think they're all wearing those big clown shoes under the desk and we just can't see it, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've been
It's
looking.
ridiculous.
It's just all part and parcel of the big old collapse. And this guy.
Forget about those fanny farts that are bound to escape the depths of my well-toned buttocks. But back to business. Sleepy Joe is pushing some bogus global warming agenda like a drunk trying to find his way home in a blizzard. It's all smoke and mirrors anyway. Just ask Jordan Peterson about it. He's got phenomenal boobs of wisdom that'll mesmerize you while exposing the hypocrisy of these climate change alarmists.
Okay, so that's actually a Donald Trump AI that I
That's so
found.
funny.
Somebody, yeah, they made it. And now the other night, Jen, we were talking about AI on the Wednesday night show I was on with the other channels, the Letter Hack and What Can You Do and Above It All. And it did come up talking about AI. And I really do want to try eventually when I get my, copious, free spare time, as the old term says. But this, I'm going to
Forget about those fanny farts that are bound to escape the depths of my well-toned buttocks. But back to business. Sleepy Joe is pushing some bogus global warming agenda like a drunk trying to find his way home in a blizzard. It's all smoke and mirrors anyway. Just ask Jordan Peterson about it. He's got phenomenal boobs of wisdom that'll mesmerize you while exposing the hypocrisy of these climate change alarmists.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I have to tell you guys, we have to have some levity in these times. We are living through and witnessing some serious, big time, messed up shit. Well, Global Witness found more than 600 people at the talks in Egypt are linked to fossil fuels. That's more than the combined delegations from the 10 most climate impacted countries. We're talking about the next COP28, which we will probably cover in total like we always do. If you want to address malaria, you don't invite the mosquitoes. And that's another, that's like, boom, she's just
She's
There.
going for it,
She
man.
got
She's
it.
awesome.
Yeah, Greta. And we're going to
Greta.
talk
Go,
about her a
Greta.
little bit.
Go, Greta, go.
Yeah, really. The young people. I love them. Gotta love them. All right. So, Jen, your
Yeah.
favorite? One of our
Oh,
favorites?
we love Zach Labe, climate
We
scientist.
do.
We absolutely love him. So this is temperature anomaly
Which we
from
told you about.
September. So it's all the Septembers. I guess it's actually, let me see, is it?
Yeah.
It's everything. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's all the Septembers from 1880, right? So 150 years of September anomalies. So you can
Yeah.
really start to see it.
He likes to play with those websites too. But he extrapolates, and the Scott Duncan actually made this one. So they work in tandem. These talented
good.
climate scientists. I love them
Yeah.
too. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
September
And then,
2023 doesn't look good, Sandy.
no, and all the scientists have been saying it. Yeah, it's just they've all been saying it. I'm just going to give a shout out to Tommyist. Hi, Tommyist. I heard that you had lunch with Sam, and that's nice. And so I saw him this week, and Tommyist had lunch with Sam in Vermont. So this is great.
Oh, great.
We're all a big family, and it is wonderful. And I'm bringing more into the family every day. All right, so we're going to move on, and we're going to look at this. The Arctic sea ice.
This is a little surprising. I wouldn't have expected such a recovery in the Arctic sea ice. It's caught up to the 2000s average now. And that's good. I mean, the longer that blue ocean event is held off, the better.
Why do you think? I didn't find anything. I didn't
know.
have time to go into the
I don't know.
background. I wish I did. I should have gone into his plots and all his material, but we can. We absolutely can.
Yeah.
All right. So we are then going to move to
Funny stuff.
But my friend and I, we were arguing about this, and she was like, no, I'm going to have a kid. Because what if my kid's, like, really smart and solves climate change? I'm like, all right, well, you got to stop sleeping with idiots first. Now every time she fucks a DJ, I'm like, do you even care about the environment?
I like that one. We don't have to play it twice. We'll go back to seriousness now. Okay, so this one. This is the color-coded map in Robinson projection displays a progression of changing global surface temperature anomalies. Normal temperatures are shown in white. Higher than normal temperatures are shown in red, and lower than normal temperatures are shown in blue. They are calculated over the 30-year baseline period, 51 to 80. The final frame represents the 5-year global temperature anomalies from 2017 to 21. And, of course, it's for us dopey Americans. The degrees are in Fahrenheit, so take it away. This is a nice one. I mean, it's a scary one, but it just look how clean, and it was the higher temperatures, of course, they get redder, but the white was so nice. I wonder, it must have felt pretty good to live then.
Yeah. So these are the surface temperature anomalies. So over time, you can see it getting different than it is, you know?
Yeah. I'm going to play this one more time. I like to play these a couple of times. They're nice. And they're helpful because people can visualize then and see, wow, this is really going on. It's happening, and nobody's playing. This is not AI. These are plotted, statistical, measured by scientists. This is not just, is it real or is it Memorex? If anybody understands that reference from those days. I know
we're dating ourselves.
Yeah, Vegematic, he would know. He's probably done and used and did those things back then. Okay. Here we go.
I have this friend, she likes to prophesize about like the hellscape to come with climate change, which is a real bummer, but I like being dominated, so I find it kind of arousing. She's like, just wait. In 2 years, there's going to be no drinkable water. But we're also all going to be like underwater eventually, but you won't be able to drink any of it. So you're just going to be like wet and thirsty and hot. I'm like, wow, that sounds really bad. Oh no, climate change, what am I going to do? Oh, it's so bad. I hope that doesn't happen. I'm like, how wet and how hot? Could you be more specific? And then I just make something up. The friend is me. That's just how I bait, you know?
The friend is her. It's her. Isabel Hagen. She's
So
cute.
funny. She's
like
good.
Yeah.
She's very funny.
Good young comic. Yes, absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
though, Jen, I got a different guy. This guy, he's a YouTuber with like 1.2 million followers. He does not specifically
Wow.
do science at all. He does all kinds of different things. He's on Twitter X, but I really thought that this was good, and it's what we've talked about. So it's nothing like, you guys out in our audience haven't heard before, but it's a different person, a different viewpoint. He says he does weapon guides and tip videos for Call of Duty, which is the video game, and other FPS games. Long form content, philosophical videos, and media reviews are also common here too. I want to be a source of knowledge and positivity in the gaming community, so check him out.
Antarctic scientists are saying that sea ice at our southern continent is at mind-blowingly low levels and sounds an alarm, like an actual crisis alarm at how little ice is left in Antarctica thanks to the planet heating. So I'm going to go ahead and just scroll down to this graph. This is where they measure how much Antarctic sea ice there is every single year, and this line in blue is 2023. All of these other lines are just a year here, and as you can see, we are way under average. We are like anomalously low on ice, which would indicate a higher level of heat. And then you can scroll down, of course, they've got pictures of it melting, but this shows approximately the borders of where you would expect a sea ice to be. And you can see we have a little bit of extra on the side, but then on the southern border, we'll call it, and the northern one, there's lots and lots of missing sea ice that we are way under the average for the last 30 years. And what scientists are concerned about is that Antarctica kind of acts as a heat sink for all of the, globe, I should say, that this huge chunk of white ice reflects a lot of solar radiation back in so we don't absorb it. It maintains a lot of the coolness in the ice. It helps maintain the water level. It does a lot of things. It's kind of like a dampener for our whole environment. And they're afraid that if this trend continues and there's less and less ice, there's going to be sea level rise, there's going to be an increase in global temperatures, we're going to use one of our natural mitigation methods, and we're just going to literally be absorbing more sunlight because it's going to be reflecting less, which is very scary to me. I personally just really don't like that about 10 times a year I have to read an article about a never before seen, once in a lifetime, couldn't even happen, off the charts anomalous temperature event that has roughly been in line with climate change. So cool.
Now, that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's
Definitely.
he's got it, and he's studying it. He's looking at it among his other things. So good, because the younger people need to understand, obviously, to be able to acclimate, live, and do their best and thrive if they can in such a changing environment. Such a changing environment. So we'll segue on. This is a website, National Centers for Environmental Information, and Elliot had posted it on Twitter X, and because what we are showing is where we live, and you can plug in the website, which we'll show you in a little bit. You can plug in the website for where you live, and the parameter was average temperature, 60-month September, and it started in 1895 and ended in 2023, and I'm in New York, and so where I live, you can see from where the temperatures were in Fahrenheit for September, and in some of the drips and drabs, I don't know. Oh, okay. So it goes down and then it goes back up and it goes, but you can keep going down, you can keep going up, but then it starts. See how it changed? So September, we started getting warmer and warmer and warmer. There's Celsius. So the average temperature at the end of September has gone up. It used to be, what was it? The lowest. The lowest was, so it's degrees. It doesn't look like a lot. And I'm in a good area right now, right now. And so Jen, why don't you do yours now? And you all can do your own, because the link will be in the website and it in the show notes, and you can play. Jen, you
It's
want me to
definitely going up. I mean,
make it bigger? All right. Everybody see it? Okay, Jen. Oh, I hope she's not frozen. All right. Well, anyway, until she
about. Can you hear me?
Yep, now we can.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So then when you get to about 1975, that's the last time it was really cool. And then, pretty much ever since 95, 85, it's just solidly going up. So you can see it's going up over time, average temperature.
Let me see. Our average temperature is similar to yours. Look at that. It's pretty similar.
Yeah.
You're in Colorado, I'm in New
It
York,
is.
but it is. That's pretty cool, Jennifer.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
But so you guys can get on this and play with it. It's fun to play with all of this stuff if you're really inquisitive and you want to know. And this is right where you live. And I thank Elliot Jacobson, Professor Jacobson, for putting this on. Okay. Last but not least.
Oil companies knew they were causing climate change and lied about it for decades. And that was a genius business idea. I mean, how do you even come up with that? Enjoy the money, guys. You earned it.
Oh my God. That's very funny.
And that's the end of the presentation for this week. So I hope you all enjoyed that, definitely, and learned something. Jen, we got to review what's going on in the Arctic. We haven't done, we had our it was the tribute show was just last Friday. Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to show you this, and then we're going to get right into the big article because it's a long one, and we're going to tag team it. This is the website where you can do everything you want to play with about, you can do your county mapping from here. It's in there. So it's fun and scary. It's both, but it's all how you look at it. So I just wanted to make sure you guys had that, and it's going to be in the show notes. And we are going to tag team this article. It's from Grist, which is quite popular, I think, in the, progressive leftist community who understand what's going on and maybe more. Natural disasters now cost the U.S. insurance industry $100 billion a year, like you said earlier, Jennifer. What happens when no one wants to pick up the tab? Which is obviously happening, right? All right, I'll start, and then I will hand it over, and we'll do our Jennifer and Sandy tag team. All right? Mm-hmm. We've got ourselves a little monster out there, anchorman Jim Cantore warned, facing the camera in the Weather Channel's newsroom on a sultry August weekend in 1992. At first, few in Florida were paying attention. It's very hard to get people to believe that there's some danger from some element of nature they haven't experienced before, a reporter told Cantore as the channel played a tape of tranquil beaches and neat vacation homes. As the storm approached in Florida, it gained the moniker Andrew, rapidly intensifying into a Category 5 hurricane as it exceeded wind speeds of 165 miles per hour. Karen Clark watched the updates on TV from her home in Boston with fascinated horror, and her career on the line. Most insurance companies at that time assessed hurricane exposure in their portfolios by simply multiplying customer premiums by a rough factor of supposed risk rather than tracking actual property replacement costs. They were very crude formulas, she said. So in 87, Clark had started her own company, Applied Insurance Research, or AIR, to develop software that better estimated the potential losses from these catastrophic events. So, unlike the rest of the industry, she used granular data and sophisticated analysis and approached now called catastrophe modeling. Her first computer model estimated that a Category 5 hurricane hitting Dade County could cause losses of almost 10 times more than previously believed. She warned her customers about the risk in Florida, but until Hurricane Andrew, no one listened. The good old boys at Lloyd's of London, they thought they had it all figured out. She said they didn't need any help from this American woman carrying around a little computer. Yeah, that was Andrew right there. You ready, or you want me to keep going?
Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
All right. By that Sunday morning in 1992, it became clear that Andrew's eye was aiming straight for Miami. Clark rushed into the AIR office, where her model suggested that the storm could cause at least $13 billion in damages. A disaster so expensive at first, she debated whether she should publish the results. As the hurricane made landfall the next day, it tore palm trees from the ground and it stripped roofs from houses, carving a devastated path across southern Florida. Over 100,000 homes were damaged, and an additional 50,000 were destroyed. Oh, gosh. When a client called asking about his probable losses, Clark told him around $200 million, he said, for the industry? And I was like, no, for your company. AIR's estimates turned out to be conservative. Andrew eventually cost the insurance industry $15 billion. And, it's always about the money, honey, right? Mm-hmm. In the aftermath, Clark said, everyone knew the market was going to radically change. The catastrophe model she developed quickly became the industry standard, changing how American companies navigated risk from natural disasters. In hindsight, it was the beginning of the dynamic, now driving insurance markets to handle massive payouts events like Andrew. Insurance companies sell policies across different markets. Historically, a hurricane wasn't hitting Florida in the same month that a wildfire wiped out a town in California. They themselves also pay for insurance, a financial instrument called reinsurance that helps distribute risk across geographic regions. Reinsurance availability remains a major driver of what insurance you can buy and how much it's going to be. Look at this. This was New York in Brooklyn, September 29th this year. Right. Yeah, because there was all that rain. And can you imagine the claims in New York City from all this shit? And these apartments that are unlivable because people live in the basements in New York, and they wait, I need a forgive me. Okay. But my train of thought was the basements, the apartments, the people that have had to move. I mean, there's so much going on that we don't even know what's happened afterwards, because now there's a war and you're not looking at climate change, and then you're looking at, our attention is in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. All right. So, but as climate change intensifies, extreme weather and claims pile up, and this system has been just thrown into disarray. Instead, insured losses from natural disasters in the U.S. now routinely approach $100 billion a year, compared to $4.6 billion in 2000. As a result, the average homeowner has seen their premiums spike 21% since 2015. perhaps unsurprisingly, the states most likely to have disasters, like Texas and Florida, have some of the most expensive insurance rates. That means ever more people are foregoing coverage, leaving them vulnerable and driving prices even higher as the number of people paying premiums and sharing risk shrinks. Keep going.
This vicious cycle also increases reinsurers' rates. Reinsurers globally raised prices for property insurers by 37% in 2023, contributing to insurance companies pulling back from risky states like California and Florida. As events are getting bigger and more costly, that has raised the prices of reinsurance in those areas, said Carolyn Kuski, the Associate Vice President for Economics and Policy at the Environmental Defense Fund, who studies insurance. It's called the hardening of the market. In a worst case scenario, this all leads to a massive stranded asset problem. Premiums get so high that property values plummet. Families' investments dissipate, and banks are stuck holding what's left. More simply, the global process for handling life's risks is breaking down, leaving those who can least afford it unprotected. The idea of distributing risk has been around since the 14th century, when insurers of trading ships wanted someone to share the uncertainties of long voyages. Modern reinsurance was established in the 19th century Europe, which some historians credit to large fires in Hamburg, Germany, and Glarus, Switzerland, where significant losses led to the founding of many of today's leading reinsurance companies. These companies were also some of the first to issue warnings about climate change. Back in 1973, Munich Re, one of the world's major reinsurance firms, noticed a spike in the number of flood damage claims. In a prescient report, the company noted the rising temperatures of Earth's atmosphere due to the rise of CO2 content in the air, causing a change in the absorption of solar energy. Now, the world is reaping the consequences of that change. In the last decade, the frequency of global natural catastrophe jumped by 28%.
Ooh.
On a single day in July, 60% of the U.S. population faced an extreme weather alert. Costs have catapulted too. Since the 1970s, losses from disasters increased an average of 5% a year, particularly in the United States. That's because damage also depends on vulnerability and exposure, where people live and how prepared they are. Tragically, the fastest growing countries also face some of the highest risks. It doesn't have to be one of those huge events, said Alice Hill, senior fellow at the College on Council on Foreign Relations, who studies climate consequences. It's also successive events back to back, like the 12 atmospheric rivers that hit California this winter. Reinsurers are particularly exposed to these hazards because many insurance companies seek primarily to cover catastrophic risks, major events like hurricanes that are intensifying as the world warms. In a letter to shareholders this summer, Christian Mullenthaler, a group CEO of the global reinsurance company Swiss Re, wrote, "Climate change continues to take its toll across multiple geographies. As a result, the reinsurance industry has paid dearly for much of the last decade. Underwriting losses drove $115 billion in global reinsurance losses since 2022. There's tension over a business model that's retrospective with a risk that's emerging," said Frank Nutter, president of the Reinsurance Association of America. The financial foundation of insurance, in other words, is cracking. You want to take it?
Yeah, let me see where we were. Without global reinsurance, this is a hell of an article. Without global reinsurance, we wouldn't have the capacity to provide sufficient disaster coverage for everyone. Kuski said, it's essential. But unlike insurers who face political pressures from state regulators to keep rates affordable, reinsurance is much more of a free market. A recent report from Moody's finds that reinsurers are reacting by raising their rates, limiting their coverage, and even deciding to reduce their exposure in places like Florida. That's what we've been seeing. Increasingly, reinsurance industry is reassessing what are known as secondary perils, or things like flooding and wildfires. Oh, I don't think of wildfire as a secondary thing, but I guess they're calling it. Hazards that were previously less costly than major events. Okay, like hurricanes, which are becoming more common. Because getting risk wrong is now so costly, there's been a race in the private sector to model future odds. Jenny Disson works on the North Carolina Institute for Climate Studies, a research institute that's part of NOAA's Cooperative Institute for Satellite Earth System Studies. She says she frequently fields calls from insurers eager to know the latest climate indicators. Yet critics worry that this rush to fine-tune risk predictions may potentially accelerate skyrocketing premiums. Since many are proprietary, the accuracy of these assessments can be difficult to vet. They are also having unintended consequences, like lowering municipal bond ratings, hindering government's ability to respond to extreme weather by raising funds. And here, 2016, obviously, we were used to these scenes. Some people believe that an individual focus is likely not the best or most equitable way to address climate adaptation. Many of these adaptation steps are like a kind of public good that can't be taken on an individual level, like building a seawall, said Madison Condon, Boston University law professor and corporate environmental law professor. They work best if everyone takes them. The economic implications of all this are troubling. A new report by the U.S. Treasury Department, released at the end of June, found major gaps in the supervision and regulation of insurers. The report advised much closer attention to the risks the insurance industry may pose to the overall financial sector. Can you see the dots, Jen? We're connecting the dots of
dot.
Everything going, boo! Well, and it hits us, the people that, you lose your house, you're not insured, you're homeless. End of story.
That's right.
And that's happening. I mean, it's been already happening on the coasts, in the cities. While insurance prices have soared, a recent report from the nonprofit First Street Foundation estimates that 39 million homes are covered at prices artificially lower than their true risk. The authors suggest that the state regulations capping premiums and government-backed insurer of last resort have concealed the extent of the crisis. They predict, as disasters continue surging, what they call the growing climate bubble in the housing market. It's going to up, leaving millions of homes uninsurable and destroying their value. The average homeowner who loses an insurance policy automatically sees a drop of more than 10% in the home's value, the report notes. If the value of their home plummets, or if the credit agencies downgrade their communities, Hill said, one of my big fears is we're going to have a lot of people trapped in places that are unsafe. And they're economically trapped. Exactly like people that live right now that maybe are able to afford living on the coasts of these different places. They're not going to get insured. Something happens, boom, their nice little life is just torn apart. Please don't take anything. Insurance must document. You loot, I shoot. Oh, yeah, baby. You loot, I shoot. That was in Fort Myers. That was in October of 2022.
That was rough.
Yeah, that was rough.
Want me to go ahead?
Go for it, baby. Go for it.
Such concerns prompted the Treasury Department last year to require 213 large insurers, companies like Allstate and Farmers Insurance, to provide data about their homeowner policies. Its initial goal was to collect information about coverage, claims, and premiums by zip code to identify where climate change may disrupt markets. The plan faced fierce opposition from the industry, which says it's a regulatory burden and that disclosing this data may harm companies' competitive advantage. Results are not anticipated in 2023 and will not include other types of insurance impacted by climate, like flood insurance, which is often covered in a separate policy from homeowners insurance. This spring, one of the largest insurance brokerage companies warned Congress they weren't moving fast enough. Well, Congress isn't moving at all right now.
No,
Piece of shit.
they really
Just
is
as the
just-
U.S. economy was overexposed
Oh
to
my God.
mortgage risk in 2008, the economy today is overexposed to climate risk. Aon plc President Eric Anderson told Senate Budget Committee members, yet there appears to be little federal urgency in addressing the problem. Experts warn that increasing prices may tip homeowners toward default as more insurers flee. At least 5 major companies have stopped writing coverage in some region. State Farm announced this spring
Yeah,
that it would stop selling homeowners policies in California.
that's scary.
The company cited rapidly growing catastrophic exposure and challenging reinsurance market. Wow.
I know,
Allstate
they're mine.
also, wow. Allstate also quietly stopped writing new policies in the Golden State in June. In Louisiana, where at least 20 companies have left in the last 2 years, the situation has gotten so bad. The state passed a $45 million funding bill in 2023 in an effort to woo its insurers back. Though government has been slow to address these trends, global financial markets are already basing investment decisions on climate risks.
Yep.
Major ratings companies like Moody's and McKinsey have recently purchased climate data firms. First Street Foundation, for example, provides climate risk information to many banks, many reinsurers, and government agencies, including Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are already using it to screen for mortgages' climate exposure. Mortgage purchasers like these, after all, are the ones who may be soon left holding the ashes of assets. Wow. You want to take it,
Yeah.
Sandy?
Meanwhile, homeowners like this guy, many of whose mortgages require insurance, are left with limited options. After 6 property insurance companies in Florida declared bankruptcy in 2022, for instance, many property owners had to turn to state-run insurers like Florida Citizens Property Insurance Company, a government-backed entity serving otherwise uninsurable populations. Although its policies tend to be less comprehensive than private insurance, in the last year it ranked swelled about 50% to about 1.7 million. Yet this year, as Florida's reinsurance rates skyrocketed 30 to 50%, even these last resort policy rates they spiked 12%, leaving many families to weigh whether they can afford to keep their insurance. If the state is hit by like a major hurricane, the program has grown so large the resulting claims could outstrip Citizens' budget. The program can't go out of business like a private company, but if it runs out of money, Florida law allows Citizens to issue one-time bills charging customers up to 45% of their annual premium. Someone who just lost their home in a hurricane, in other words, could be facing a surprise bill of thousands of dollars, and Jennifer, climate refugees are going to be in our own country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
They're
true.
migrants. They're going to be migrants from state to state because they can't get insured.
Yeah.
Not only is that bad for families whose losses aren't protected, it deepens existing inequities. Right now, the insurance market is unintentionally protecting wealthy property owners while socializing their risk through highly subsidized premiums. The federal government holds the liability for the majority of flood insurance, for example, managed by FEMA. Repeatedly, flooded properties make up just 1% of the program's policies, but account for more than 30% of claims. When the government's the backup insured, the taxpayers have to support that, Hill said. 2 out of every 3 American homes are now underinsured, meaning homeowners may face a major financial loss if they were to endure a disaster, and the effects will not be felt equally. There can be an inherent tension between climate-related financial risks and anti-redlining efforts. People of color who have long since suffered discrimination are now disproportionately living in areas at the greatest danger of disaster. Isn't that always the way it is?
It is always the way. So sad.
Yeah. It's our country. That makes it difficult to both price climate risks and not divest from underserved communities. Despite being one of the first to understand these perils, insurers continue to contribute to them. They've played a major role in emissions for decades. Without insurance, the fossil fuel companies have difficulty obtaining financing. Coal is an apt example of what happens when insurers withdraw from a market. Since 45 insurers are phasing out of coal policies, construction of new coal-fired power declined by 84% between 15 and 18. But
there you go. Right there.
Right there. But insurers have been slower to move away from oil and gas, in part because it's a larger part of many companies' business. In June, the State Budget Committee sent letters to major insurance companies asking for information about how much each company earns from the fossil fuel industry. The plot thickens, Jennifer. The plot thickens. It is difficult to understand how the industry can carefully price and manage climate risk in some of its businesses, committee members wrote, while simultaneously having no apparent plan to phase out its underwriting of an investment in the projects and companies generating the emissions that are causing these very harms. I'm laughing. It's not funny, obviously.
Yes.
It's just the patheticness of all of it.
You want me to take it?
Sure.
Prompted in part by concerns over this kind of liability, the reinsurance industry has begun warning about the need to reduce climate risk. The economic and insured losses over time are a clear indicator that the past is not a representation of the future, said Raghavir Vinukolu, head of Climate Insights. Yeah, right. That was a big one, right? At Munich Re, U.S. Physical mitigation like building flood walls and buffer zones will be needed, he says, but funding and building these engineering measures can be difficult. With insurers themselves running out of insurance options, the stability of financial systems is far shakier than many realize. Yet, the federal government hasn't developed a national adaptation plan that comprehensively addresses these concerns. In its absence, decisions are left to municipal and state governments, some of which are facing serious blowback. When Hawaii recently attempted to increase setbacks for future oceanfront construction, for example, citing immediate sea level rise, homeowners managed to stall the plan. Experts like Condon call for centralized national climate service that can help guide these adaptations and regulatory policies based on transparent and specific risk assessments. If you want to know the truth, the science is the easy part, Karen Clark said. Getting people to change their behavior, on the other hand, is difficult. She is still working on catastrophic modeling, now in her opponent's firm, where she urges decision makers to get more realistic and quickly. People don't understand a basic economic law. There's no free lunch. There's a risk, she said. Somebody is paying for it. It's just a question of
Of
who.
who? Now, I
Of
thought
who.
that was really good because it showed us a lot, really, about our economy, our, those of us that are homeowners, and then even renters. Think about the renters. Think about the people that own the buildings that can't afford the insurance, and then a renter, there's
Yeah.
a
And it's oddly
catastrophe.
that they're pulling out of California, right? I mean,
Yeah.
some of these other places you could understand, but California, man, that's got to be a huge market.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to follow up
Amazing.
on what happens with this story because where a guy by goes the money is it's all um in the big boom bomb, you know,
Mhm.
everything coming crashing down, coming crashing
Yes.
down. So,
Boom.
yeah, I enjoy doing that. So, Jen, do we want to
Yeah.
just not read the whole article, but do we want to just mention our little Greta this week?
Our little Greta, Greta in the Guardian.
Mm, to
It's
get
it's
arrested.
not actually a very long article. It's very short.
Okay, go for it.
I think that it's readable.
Let's do it.
Greta Thunberg joins second climate protest in London this week. So look how cute Greta is looking. My God, what a beauty she's turned into. Greta Thunberg has taken part in climate protests in London for the second time this week, protesting outside the JP Morgan headquarters in Canary Wharf. Apparently undeterred after being arrested and subsequently charged with public order offense after protest on Tuesday, the Swedish campaigner joined fellow activists in the East London financial district on Thursday morning. Change your diet, save the climate, eat the rich. Oh my goodness, chanted protesters sitting outside of JP Morgan building on Bank Street as financial service workers filed past on the way to their desk. They handed out free money to passing workers, £10 notes issued by the Bank of Climate Chaos, which said, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of loss and damage.
There, we just read an article all about loss and damage, right?
There you go.
Hmm.
A spokesperson for the Fossil Free London, which organized the protests, told The Guardian, we are here at the entrance of JP Morgan because they are, in the last 7 years since the last Paris Agreement, the worst financer of fossil fuels. They poured 434 billion, wow, that's a chunk, into
Yeah.
fossil fuel financing. And this is a company that makes tens of billions of dollars in profits every year. Quote, we know that London is the heaving engine of financing for fossil fuel
Heaving.
companies. Heaving. And you know that we have been protesting at the Oil and Money Conference, Energy Intelligence Forum, and JP Morgan have been represented at the conference. We're saying at this time of massive inequality and climate change that is damaging the global south here and now, that we need them to pay for the loss and damage for the communities and people affected with some of the profits. Canary Wharf's private security workers directed JP Morgan employees to alternative entrances. Police arrived about 9 a.m. and did not immediately begin making arrests. Thunberg declined to comment, but stood at the doors of the building, chatting to fellow activists and joining in the chants, including, profits rise and we get poor. Climate crisis is class war. Oily, oily money. Out, out, out.
Mm.
At the same time, across London, doctors and other health workers affiliated with Extinction Rebellion
There you
staged
go.
a die in and climate inquest outside the Intercontinental Park Lane, the venue for the Energy Intelligence Forum. 14 people lay shrouded like casualties at a military field hospital in the road outside the hotel's main entrance, while others circled them in a mime of tending fallen colleagues. After the action, the group was due to hand in a letter addressed to Luke Nelson, JP Morgan Chase is head of sustainability, saying society in the future is likely to judge companies that continue such fossil fuel investments as both fossil fuel,
Fool.
both immoral and operating outside international law. What does JP Morgan plan to do right now to avoid such a judgment? Spokesperson for JP Morgan said, "We provide financing across all the energy sectors, supporting energy security, helping clients accelerate their low carbon transitions, and increasing clean energy financing with a target of 1 trillion for green initiatives by 2030. Wow, that's a chunk.
It's all about the money, honey.
Yeah, it is. It's all about the
Ooh,
money.
it is. Now I want to play for a minute. So you have to give me a play before we move on to Bill McKibben. I got to make sure this all works. Okay. Hang All right, it worked.
All right.
All right, I would imagine we are going to tag team.
Yeah, I
All
would
right.
say so.
I just want to talk about this picture. This is a golf course, now a solar farm, supplying tens of thousands of homes in Japan. So this is the future. I
Wow.
mean, it's so ugly, but it was a
Wow.
golf course. But let's read.
All
Let's
right.
read. All right, who wants to go first?
Why don't you start?
Okay. So, amid the torrent of hideous news last week, one item might have skipped your notice. Exxon announced the acquisition, its biggest since picking up Mobil a quarter century ago, of one of the largest fracking operators in the world. As the AP reported, including debt, Exxon is committing about $64.5 billion to the acquisition, leaving no doubt of the Texas energy company's commitment to fossil fuels. Now, Jennifer,
Yes.
they've got to be insured by somebody, right? Right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, that's a lot of money. In fact,
is.
it's the declaration of conviction that they think they have enough political juice to keep us hooked on oil and gas for a few more decades, even in the face of the highest temperatures in 125,000 years.
Oh my God.
Our job is to stop them. For instance, the gathering fight to block new export terminals for LNG. And one way to do that is to point out over and over the sheer wonder, I'm making up words, the sheer wonder of the replacements we have on hand, which is to say the sun and also the wind that the sun produces by heating the earth more in some spots than others, creating the breezes that turn the turbines. I wrote last week that we are now adding a gigawatt of solar power daily around the planet, most of it in China. That's great, but we need more and we need it fast. So let's just concentrate for a moment on almost absurd beauty of the idea that we have learned to power the things we need from the rays of a burning orb that lives 93 million miles distant across vastness of space. Let me provide just a few facts about where we lie right now at the transition. Every week, new data emerges about the rapid fall in price of solar, which, as PV Magazine reported, this week seems to have no end in sight. This is increasingly good news for the poorest people on the planet, almost all of whom live in places with abundant sunlight and where they are currently shipping huge amounts of money off the U.S., Russia, Saudi Arabia, and other hydrocarbon exporters. Something like 80% of humans live in countries that have to import fossil fuels. The sun, by contrast, delivers its rays for free every morning. Ted?
So far, this suddenly rapid spread of solar has not dramatically cut the use of fossil fuels, but analysts from the Rocky Mountain Institute said last week that it is coming fast. They reminded us to focus on flows, not stocks. It's frequently noted that fossil fuels account for over 80% of the global primary energy, and that this number hasn't budged meaningfully for decades. Rarely mentioned is the fact that renewables have been taking an increasing share of the growth in energy supply and all of the growth in 2019 to 2021. Moving the focus from stocks to flows moves the conclusion from no change to radical change. Concentrating on the size of the fossil fuel system today is like focusing on the large number of horses in 1900. It was a good guide as then as it is now. By the end of this decade, the core renewable technologies will all dominate sales in their respective areas. Solar and wind already making up over 80% of the capacity additions in electricity, and by 2030, EVs will be over two-thirds of car sales, electronic vehicles. Once renewable technologies dominate sales, it's simply a matter of time and depreciation of the old system before they dominate stock. You can see this beginning to emerge already. A report out this week from the climate think tank Ember predicted that carbon emissions from global electricity sector may peak this year after plateauing in the first half of 2023 because of a surge in wind and solar power. That's remarkably good news, in fact. The new report on global electricity generation found that the growth of renewables was so rapid that it was close to the incredibly fast rate required if the world is to hit the tripling of capacity by the end of the decade. And experts believe it is necessary to stay on the 1.5C pathway. Well, I got to say that
Where are we?
that's probably not going to happen because we've
I
topped
know.
1.5.
We
Yeah.
have. And
Whatever.
we still
Whatever.
have a little more to look at with
Yeah.
the next.
These guys are like, I don't know, they're smoking something good. Okay. Read that again if you need a shot of anti despair. Well, if we're already past 1.5, whatever. But of course, we need to up that rate because we have to be able to provide electricity for pretty much everything that currently requires oil and gas. Running cars, trucks, buses, cooking dinner, heating, cooling homes. Some of that new capacity can definitely come off rooftops and buildings in Australia, where a third of the homes now have rooftop solar. And there was one day last month when the grid operators reported an all time record low demand for their power plants because so many people were generating power off the tops of their homes. You want to take it,
Okay.
Sandy?
Yep, I have to find it. It's true, as the remarkable Sammy Roth showed in the LA Times, that even in sunny parts of the West, rooftop solar won't be able to provide all or even most of what we need. But the good news here is that even when we have to use some agricultural agricultural land for solar farms, it's remarkably efficient. And that's where I live, guys. So after this, I have some commentary here that I'm going to make. Indeed, check
Okay.
this out. If you took just the farm fields in America currently growing corn used as ethanol and covered them with solar panels, you'd be able to provide all the power America needs. Okay. You wouldn't be cutting into the food supply because it's not used for food now. You'd just be letting that soil rest instead of pouring nitrogen on it every growing season. Okay. In addition, as Matthew Eisenson pointed out recently, recent research has shown that growing crops such as tomatoes in between rows of solar panels in hot, dry climates may increase yields by creating
Wow.
shades. Now that's the
Wow.
first time I've read
Wow.
this, okay?
Wow.
Because usually they talk about there's no room for wildlife or so this is different here. Good. Of course, we don't want to put every solar farm on ag land. There's scrub forests and desert, and oh, yes, golf courses, which, at least in Japan, are now being converted in fairly large numbers to solar farms. We're in an emergency. That makes sense. Even if you have to use forest land, though, the numbers are impressive, Eisenson said again. An acre of solar panels producing zero emissions electricity saves between 267,526 to 303,513 pounds, or 121 to 138 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. By comparison, according to the EPA, the average acre of forest in the United States sequesters 0.84 metric tons of carbon dioxide each year. Thus, an acre of solar panels in Virginia reduces approximately 144 to 166 times more carbon dioxide per year than an acre of forest. I give you all these statistics in hopes that you will make use of them. The fight of our time, the fight of the next 5 or 6 years, is to build as much renewable energy as we can and employ as much energy efficiency and conservation as we can. That's by far the most important part of reining in temperatures and reining in the death that comes with breathing the pollution from fossil fuel and the massive damage caused by mining coal and drilling for oil and gas. We will move to sun and wind to power this earth because they are cheap and elegant. The only question is if we will make that move before we break the planet. And that's up to us. So
He's still very hopeful in some ways. I mean,
yeah, I okay. So we're going to get back to us because that's really the last thing that we have to read. So let's get back to us, and I want to discuss this a little bit because there's so much controversy in just what is happening. So I'll give you an example. A friend of mine lives in a farming community, which is a lot of them are in New York. And it's been a fight. There's a solar farm coming in on hundreds of acres. It's 70 feet in front of her house. And
oh boy.
It's and it's like, okay, so there's the NIMBY thing. You don't want that. And then there is, I think he's like, I haven't seen anything that shows me that there's anything for planting and anything for wildlife yet. I don't see that. And it's not like I wouldn't love to have solar panels on my house. I would love that, but right now I don't need it because we're hydropower. But if the grid went down, I would love backup. Okay, fine. I would love to have it. But I don't want to see all the land taken up for solar panels. I'm almost more into windmills, even though they want to build the biggest windmill farm on the planet right here near where I live. The highest, I've talked about it before, the highest windmills that are possible, Jennifer.
Yeah.
And it's always because I live, where I live, that's why we had to fight a toxic waste dump. And we have landfills and everybody wants to send their garbage here. And we have, they want all the solar farms here and they want all the windmills here. So it is a conundrum. It is. And then getting the minerals. I've had Simon Michaud on who talked about this. Sorry, my t-shirt underneath is falling off. It's me, guys. Yeah. Okay. But he talked about the minerals, how we will never have the minerals to do society. And Jen,
that's the
degrowth.
Thing. I don't think that there's enough of these rare earth minerals to power this green revolution. I think, we'll see what happens. I don't think anything good is going to happen because it's taking so many rare earth minerals just to create all of these solar panels. So what are we going to do about that?
I know. I know. And now the places like out in Nevada, they're going to be mined. So Scott says, "Don't worry, they got that super." Oh, I got to get it back. They got that supercomputer. Where are you, Scott? Okay, we got that supercomputer working on nuclear fusion when it's not busy designing bombs. Okay, wait. Do I have a bomb to go off? I wish I did. Why do I not have what I want when I want? Because that was bomb worthy. All right. We'll give you lightning. How's that, Scott?
That's good.
Lightning? Okay. Um, well, Kim, right there. Stop having babies everywhere. Everywhere. Not we're not discriminating, just everybody. Let's see. What else do we have talking? What else? Hi, Tim Bob. Panels Panels degrade. Panels degrade faster than you think. I don't know. I don't have the science in front of me. I mean, there's a lot of talk that there's all these new technologies. I had been studying it for these shows, and capitalism marches on, and there's a lot of innovation out there. There is.
Yeah.
But of course, what Bill talks about, Jennifer, is innovation in, taking hundreds and hundreds of acres to cover with all of that stuff. Is it happening where you live? What do you have there?
Well, I guess here, we've got fracked land. I mean, this is like frack centrals. It's kind of sad because this is Carbon Valley. It used to be ocean here right by the Rocky Mountains. The inland sea came all the way up there. So as far as environmental degradation, all that fracking and pumping of all that frack water deep into the ground, it's really got to hurt things, I would imagine. No, I wouldn't say, wind and solar, we've got them both, but fracking's the thing that sticks out the most.
Yeah, I remember when I was there and I was driving through all those places and all those ranches were for sale and they were all full of fracking wells. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
probably
it's
can't dig a
still
well
happening.
there and drink the water.
Another thing today I called up. Now, I heat with wood. It's sustainable from my friend's farm, okay? The way he does it. It's his wood, and they're bringing me my wood, and I also have electric. But the propane company, they want $3.99 a gallon for propane for the furnace that I don't run.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what do you do with your house?
You mean with heating?
Yeah.
I have a gas furnace.
Is it expensive?
Well, I don't have to use it that much because I augment it with electrical heat
Yeah.
because I have solar panels.
Yeah, that's great. That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that works. That helps a lot because
does.
I was shocked. I mean, I'm not one that's going to say, "Oh my God, the prices are too high," because I think the higher they go, the less are used. But people have got to change. And it's not just like you or me, and it is the society has to change. And Bill doesn't, what does he see that's changing other than more capitalism? He's not talking about anybody changing their behaviors or patterns for the future. He's not talking about mass transit. I don't know. And I don't
And I'd
wanna
like
be
to
the-
bring up what
Yeah.
lightning rod. Oh, I'm sorry.
Where is it?
Lightning Rod has corrected me, and I'm glad he did. Solar panels are cheap and easy and not full of hard to get stuff. So that's good. Maybe it doesn't have rare earth minerals. That's good. I was just
Well,
kind of
things are
talking,
going
and
to
I'm glad to be
change.
corrected.
Things are going to change. I mean, they do change technologically pretty much at a blink of an eye. It's
Yeah.
just destruction. There's a side where, okay, there was a comment, Jen, in one of our videos, and the person was trying to hook me into being, because it was a climate denier, but actually they had researched something in mountains through the University of Spain in Madrid. And I went through the conversation. They told me they were saying the CO2 is negligible. But of course, they were then saying how mining all of this stuff for the renewable energy is horrible also. And it's now made me want to go on a quest a little bit more in depth on my knowledge. So thanks, Lightning Rod. We need it. Let's see. Volt revolt. Yeah, saying it can't be done just means they don't want to invest in it. Yeah. You know, that makes perfect sense, Volt. It does. It does. Let's see. We've been 1 hour and 21. So let's talk to you guys we'll go to an hour and a half, Jen, right? With everybody? There's lots of stuff in here. I had some comments that I kept. Tommyus, do you think humans will each other in the aftermath of collapse? And I am talking about full-on societal collapse.
I think my internet connection must have pooped out or something. I can't really hear Sandy.
Oh, Jennifer just said she can't hear me. Okay, so what happened? All right. Do you guys see? Well, then we could just I'll put a couple of things up and then we'll have to say goodnight. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, everybody can hear both of us, Jen. All right. Well, we had some good ones. Gary said it was a great article from Grist. Not only our insurance
Sandy,
companies,
I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I can't hear you anymore.
Wait. I'm going to say goodbye to you. I'm going to say goodbye to you. I love Jennifer. All right, guys. I'll put a couple of things up. Something happened. We knew we were having some of the... oh, wait. Maybe she'll come back and she could come in.
I think it's a better connection now.
All right. Hey.
You hear me okay? Is my microphone okay?
We can hear you. She's back.
Okay.
She's back. Yahoo. All right. So we can go through some comments then. See?
Yeah.
Damn with technology. We figure it out every time, Jennifer.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So Vetch had said insurance should be nationalized. The private insurers are all crooked. Oh, it is true. But nationalization, everything needs to be nationalized. Pfizer just raised the rates for Paxlovid for people that get sick with COVID that I just took to like $1,300 for 5 days. And people without insurance, how are they going to be able to get an antiviral? It's crazy. It's disgusting. And I think... My own opinion is nationalize pharmaceuticals at the university level for nonprofit, just like Medicare for all, everything for the good of the people, not for the good of the corporations.
Mm-hmm.
You think we'll see that, Jennifer?
Well, it could happen, I don't know.
It's tough. I mean, I say like the younger ones have to revolt, but how are they going to revolt? We don't want a January 6th revolt. Round switch. It's a race between inflation, ecocide, and global warming to see what kills us first. Oh, that was encouraging. Thank you.
God.
Well, we bring it out in everybody, right?
That's right.
Gary, you're right. The insurance actuarials were warning about this problem 60 years ago, and now we see it playing out. Absolutely. Oh, we got a nice one from Trev. Thanks to Jennifer and Sandy for this channel. Yay, we love you too. And Trevor if you're in our Discord, Trevor can be found in Discord. And we do the garden talk. Trev's a phenomenal gardener. And I like to think I am. Okay. All right. I have hi, Tim Bob. The countries with oil and gas just laugh at us. I'm laughing at us. But what are you going to do? Jimmy. Oh, I saw one. Jimmy says William Catton didn't have investments in mind when writing Overshoot. Yay.
Yeah, no,
right.
he was the real deal.
Yeah, of course he wasn't thinking that. He wasn't thinking. He was thinking we're going to overshoot and we're not investing on the fix. change every system there is. But you know, okay. Oh wow, everybody's really conversing. Okay, Gazer says 1,300 for a 5 days rip off. You don't know if it makes a difference. Well, it did make. I felt it made a difference for me. So I'm talking from recent experience. I know antivirals, you know, I looked at a lot of things that you guys don't even know what I look at, everything I look at. So anyway, and we love you too, Jimmy. Jimmy just recently joined X, but we're all moving to Blue Sky. Jennifer, did you get the Blue Sky yet? You will, because I'll send you an invite code and you'll get in and make a
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, Kim, I'm going to end and say thank you for all coming. Hope you liked the show and shared it out. Love and peace to you all, and see you on the flip side. So, yeah, it's been a great show, Jen. I learned a lot.
Absolutely.
I listened to the article and video, and then I learned a lot reading it again.
Yeah.
I liked it. I definitely
Repetition helps. Yeah.
All right. So you have the last word since I've had so many.
Well, you know, we decided not to talk about the wars and, you know, Israel and Gaza and all of that stuff. We wanted to talk about this tonight because the thing is, everybody's talking about the wars in Ukraine and the wars in Israel and all this stuff, and climate change is
still here.
It's still here, and it's moving apace. Tell you what.
And with all the bombing and all the shit that's happening, what's that adding to the atmosphere?
Yeah. So,
all right.
You know, it's a great show. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I love you.
And
Jimmy says,
too.
thank you, admins and smart chat pals. Yes,
thank you,
admins are wonderful. Jean, Scott, Kim, and who else? Is Gary an admin? I think, Gary, you're an admin. Yep. Thank you. Love you. And I will see you on Tuesday. And me and Jennifer will not be back the following Friday. We're going to postpone till Saturday. I have a benefit to go to.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good, Sandy.
Here we go. Mwah.